Deseret News Rewind is presented by Heidemann and Associates. Call them now for a free consultation, 801-754-4240, or go to utah.law. Welcome in Deseret News Rewind. Dusty Litster, Dane Stewart, as always, presented by Heidemann and Associates.
That's right, Dusty, and for those of you who have any legal need, it might be a living will and trust, it might be a disagreement, it might be business, whatever it might be, call the experts at Heidemann and Associates, 801-754-4240. And if you tell them the Deseret News Rewind sent you, free consultation. They're going to take care of you. Again, that number is 801-754-4240.
And not only are we trying to take care of you legally, I also want to take care of you financially as well. And if you're looking to get that next step in your career, Utah Army National Guard. It's not just about military service.
That's right, Dusty. Over 150 different career path options available, from medical to mechanical and engineering, and including military. It's in there.
Yeah.
And depending on the opportunity you pursue, up to $20,000 signing bonus available through the Utah Army National Guard. To learn more, visit www.nationalguard.com.
All right, well, we got a lot to get through today. We are previewing championship games.
That's right.
We're also reviewing a couple of champions as well. But we spent the weekend up at Rice-Eccles Stadium. And, okay, opening statement brought to you by Heidemann and Associates. I was shocked by the lopsidedness that we saw at Rice-Eccles.
Yeah, I think some of the games I kind of thought they might get a little lopsided, but the consistency of the lopsidedness was what surprised me. I think along with that's what you're saying. I mean, the closest game was American Fork and East, and that was 10 points, right? And everything else, I feel like it was a 20, 30-point blowout in the second half. And that did surprise me. One of the things, hey, it was beautiful weather up there this weekend. Didn't have to worry about wind, didn't have to worry about cold, snow, rain, any of that. So the offense came out, really performed well. I think we have some real intriguing matchups coming up. And I think some of the displays that we saw in the semifinals really set up for what should be fantastic championship matches. I think Friday, you're probably going to have some real competitive games in championship games, which is what we all want.
Well, that is what we all want. But normally you have that one semifinal game that's an absolute thriller.
Yeah.
It's shocking that we didn't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of those matchups. East, AF, closest one, but it wasn't in doubt. AF played really, really well. That was just surprising to me we didn't have one.
Well, East got a touchdown inside of a minute left to make that.
Right.
Right? And so even at that, it was not as close as maybe the score indicated.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's review what we saw this weekend. Let's first start in, let's flip the script a little bit. What about 4A?
Hey, all right.
Two teams, and here's why. Two teams who have not won a championship in football duking it out for a 4A. We're going to have a first-timer no matter what.
You want to know what else it is, Dusty? Two teams that I said would be here. Bam! Hey, you know what? Usually I don't do very well in the bracketology. So when I get it right, you got to flat it, right?
Absolutely.
How about the Park City Miners? I mean, this is a team undefeated, best start in school history. And I love, we had a chance to go talk with Coach Monzigo before the game. Said, hey, Coach, this is your best start ever. Are your players, are you worried about their focus? He said, no, we won region. I asked the team if they wanted to see the trophy. They said, Coach, no, that's not our goal this year. We'll look at it after the season's over. Love that mentality. They continued that. And against a really tough Pineview team, they shut them down. And, McLeod Croton, Dusty, he was sacked, had negative 61 yards rushing. That's the worst rushing performance by McLeod Croton, only his second one for negative yards rushing this season. And still threw for 300, 400 yards, but didn't matter. Park City, that offense, fun to watch. Bauer, Skidmore, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. That Park City team, oh my goodness, folks. The Miners struck silver. Last week.
But you can't forget about McCurdy on the outside and what they were able to do with 3 main threats on that team. It's really impressive. It is a lot of fun to watch. And now the team they take on, the Skyview Bobcats. And what I love about this Skyview team is that Mason Falso started as a wide receiver as a freshman and sophomore. Last year played quarterback. He started this year at quarterback. Gets hurt. They find Kason Carlson, and then you see what it opens up. Yeah. Mason Falso's all over the field, but it's because of what Carlson gives this team.
Exactly. And I mean, you look at this team, Dustin, I love the response out of halftime. This game was 21 apiece at half, and they went on to score 28-0 in the second half.
Yeah.
Skyview did. I was just like, all right, we're done. And you talk about Kason, what he brings to this team. 3 rushing touchdowns in this game. Falso had 2 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown. And so many options that it's just hard to figure out where they're going to go with football and how you try to defend it. And, very creative. You'll see Falso line up at quarterback. You'll see Kason, obviously he's the starter. But, man, they get things going. And the thing that was most impressive to me was the way they shut down Dixie, because that Flyer offense put up a lot of points this year, moved the football at will for a majority of the season. And in the second half, they couldn't get anything going. Their rushing attack was shut down. And Reggie Graff, great year for him.
Yeah.
But second half, he was
a non-factor.
Yeah, it was not there.
Non-factor. Well, the offense was a non-factor, and it was how good that defense was. We will pick a 4A champion coming up very, very soon. All right, how about now? Let's take a look at 5A, and this is very, very interesting. The Lehigh-Timpview game. We knew that Lehigh wanted this shot at Timpview. They felt like they were really close in that first matchup. We talked to another coach that told us the same thing. Hey, look, guys. You know how many times they got inside their 20? They just couldn't get it done. Like, they can go after him. Timpview's playing at a different level right now. Coach Stokes may have taken on the chin last year with Timpview, maybe a couple games this year. This team has figured out who they are. They have an identity, and they are playing their best ball.
Yeah, the identity is run the football. I was gonna
flipping football.
Run the football, huh? I mean, how about Targi Lamson in this game? 22 carries, 210 yards, 4 touchdowns. By the way, Sione Moa had 16 carries for 110 yards.
Right. I mean, pretty decent side piece there. Yeah.
Meanwhile, you got one of the best. Well, I'm going to say it, the best tight end in the state, Carson Ryan. They didn't even have to use him. Still had a really great grab in this ball game. But I'll tell you what, I mean, you look at what this Timpview team has morphed into, and I think that's the real story here, right? Their defense shut you down. They went up against Lehigh, and they absolutely tore apart a junior quarterback from the Lehigh Pioneers. And in the fourth quarter, Lehigh's alternated quarterbacks on series just to try to get some spark going. But you look at that secondary between Peely and Moa. I mean, all sorts of guys flying around that Timpview defense. This is the Timpview of old. We're going to play lockdown defense. We're going to take away what you want to do offensively, and we're going to run the football. And, man, it really worked wonders against Lehigh.
Absolutely. And a lot of people forgot what the I-backs looked like in the state, unless you're from Bingham. When we take a look at the other side of the bracket, Orem, we both picked Orem to win the state championship. So it's not surprising they're playing this well. It was impressive what they did to the number one ranked team in the RPI in Salem Hills. And we'll say this, they may not have made a top 5 place because of a technical glitch, but this team is playing really, really well, and it goes on both sides of the football. Yeah,
I mean, the thing that I love when you think of that Orem performance, how about Micah Fea?
Right.
And to see him back and slinging the football like he did early on in the year. Remember that first week, Orem, Corner Canyon's like, oh, hey, Orem hung in that ball game, and if it's not for a turnover or two, you'd think, hey, they might have a shot late to upset the defending 5A state champion. And you look at Fay in this ball game, 13-21, 253 with 3 touchdowns. That's a pretty good game. No turnovers, by the way.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have Noah Sewell on the ground, who does what Noah does. 11 carries, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns. Must be his time up at Rice Eccles, right? I mean,
you're right.
You fear for the time when whoever he commits to goes up to Rice Eccles, because you know he's just going to go on a tear in that game. The team ran for over 300 yards. And so, I mean, you look at Orem and you look at the balance there and taking care of the football, playing the right way at the right time. Going to have to keep their heads, because that Orem Timpview in a championship,
Absolutely.
We'll talk about that later. But, man, you talk about shutting down Salem Hills. This game was never in doubt. I mean, it was from the second possession of the ball game when it's 14. I was like, all right, now this is just a glorified last 42, 44 minutes of this ball game just to play it out. And, I don't want to say a shame for Salem Hills. I mean, they get to Rice Eccles. Had a fantastic year, the number 1 seed. Obviously, there's a lot for this group to be proud of. Jarrett Elmer, the quarterback, and a lot of things they did well this season, but it just was not their day in the semi.
It wasn't. It was all Orem, and that one, he's mentioned, it was a dominant performance. 6A, let's talk about dominance. The Corner Canyon Chargers. Someone wanted to give me crap because I joked around and said this was the Corner Canyon Invitational. Someone proved me wrong, and and I thought it might be Lone Peak. We both agreed with that because of that first matchup, what it would be. Yep. But, man, you just saw, we talk about this offense a lot. That defense, the defense is the difference.
Was locked down, Dusty. And, I mean, you look at this, and we talked about it on the stream, right? Lone Peak, that short passing game had been such a good find for them about midway through the season, and there's just no short passing game to be had. We're going to stick 5 linebackers, 5-yard deeps, and they aren't bailing until your routes go past them. What do? They completely take away the passing game. The running game was shut down. I mean, to the point where it was Nate Ritchie and the Wildcat in the second half just to try to get first downs. How about Josh Wilson, 15 tackles and a sack in this ball game? He was a roamer.
And a fumble recovery.
Yeah, that defensive line was impressive. Got a lot of pressure in the backfield. We already talked about shut down the running attack. How about Cole Hagan? Not having Austin Bell. And we'll talk about that and those implications in the championship, but you lose your leading rusher as a junior, over 1,000-yard back, and Cole Hagan has to be the guy to step up and try to carry the load, and certainly did so on the offensive side of things with the passing attack. But you talk about his rushing, what he was able to do. He's ran for over 1,000 yards this year as well, and 11 rushing touchdowns. He showed that in the semifinal. I mean, you look at the final numbers for Cole, Dusty. How about this? 14 to 29, 280, 3 touchdowns. That's just through the air. 14 rushes, 87 yards with a rushing touchdown. One of them over 40 yards. Real big night from Cole Hagan.
It was absolutely spectacular. Now, from a senior leader who's undefeated, mind you, in Cole Hagan in his career, to a young sophomore, maybe the first game up there. No one had thrown the ball particularly well at Rice Eccles with perfect conditions. And then here comes Maddox Madsen. He says, I'm a sophomore, no one's throwing well. Yeah. Well, let me tell you what, I'll throw for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no turnovers at all.
Yeah, like it ain't no thing. And how about Tanner Holden? 4 receptions, 164 yards, and 2 touchdowns. By the way, Devin Downing, future D1 wide receiver, had 8 receptions, 113 yards with 2 touchdowns. I mean, that American Fork offense took him a little bit to kind of find that mojo. There was a penalty in the second quarter against East. Kind of wondered if that was going to be the turning table. I think ultimately it probably was. There were some fumbles from East, didn't help their cause. But that AF offense, I mean, they found a way to move the ball through the air, did a great job. And we talk about moving the ball through the air. Jackson Gregory said, guys?
Yeah, there's a stable force.
Yeah. 30 carries, 134 yards, rushing touchdown. Gregory overpowered that East defense, and AF able to make it back to the state championship game.
Well, he was able to even the tide. When it was trying to get going, it was like, hey, if nothing else right now, we're going to turn to number 10 and let him get our guys settled in, and did just that. Well, we went through those ones. How about some championship games, huh? Let's handle some hardware. Some guys getting rings, getting plaques. First of all, let's start 3A. All right. I got a team in the champ. I had Juab from the very beginning. But how about the Morgan Trojans? Got hit up on Twitter about, hey, no love for Morgan. Guys, look for, all right, here it is. How about the defense? You were on it early. They were the #1 scoring defense in the state, no matter what the classification was through midway through the year. A couple of bumps in the road, but this team, the Morgan Trojans, took a tough road and bring home a title.
They did, and you talk about the way they did it. I love the way you phrase that. Early on in the year, this was the team to beat. I mean, it looked that way. Had a midseason loss, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, maybe that defense isn't as strong as we thought it was, and they get in the playoffs in a tough route. How about this note? You like fun facts?
I love fun facts.
Here comes a fun fact for you. Morgan went 4-0 in the playoffs to win a state championship, right?
Yep.
They notched a safety in every game in the playoffs.
How about it?
Are you serious? Yes, we are. You look at the semifinal, they won that game 10-0. Safety and a pick 6 with a 2-point conversion. And in the championship, safety, 2 field. Offense didn't even have to show up.
Right.
Offense didn't even have to show up. The Morgan Trojans took care of defense. #1 scoring defense in the classification. Sloan Calder, hey, look, we got to give some field goal kickers some love, right? Hits the 2 field goals in the win for the Trojans. I mean, Thackeray had a great year this year. We don't want to undersell that Morgan defense or that Morgan offense. It was good. But in the championship, defenses win championships, and it
How about this?
3A.
Win the semifinal and championship without an offensive score.
Right.
No, or touchdowns.
Yeah.
Field goals are offense. Well, they're special
There's a
teams.
2-point conversion.
It's a third part of the game. I'm going to separate it.
How about this? 2 points out of an offensive formation in the semifinals and championships. That's the way to state it.
Perfect.
Woo!
Yeah. But congratulations to Morgan going through that road. They had the furthest trip, and they brought home the hardware. Congratulations to Morgan Trojans. Now, I mentioned it last week. 2 teams, 1 exit. There can only be 1 champion. And this game started exactly how Milford wanted it. 50-yard touchdown pass, Barnes to Beebe. And then that was it.
Yeah, and you want to talk about bounce back. I mean, how about Beaver? They slide by Duchesne in the semi 14-7. Looks like maybe, they're, not insurmountable. They're not a machine, right? Milford, very similar, slides past in the semifinal. Last minute, Bryson had a kid. And you get this battle of the #1 and #2 teams in 2A. And boy, the response from Beaver to just come out. You mentioned they trailed 7-0 and then to go on, or 6-0, and then to score 45 unanswered. And Riker Albrecht, 3 rushing touchdowns in that ball game. How about this? Beaver played 13 games on the year, okay? They're the #1 scoring offense. They've put on more points than Corner Canyon in the same number of games. 597 points. Also, #1 scoring defense. Only team to allow less than 100 points on the year. The Beaver
biggest
Beavers.
score differential in the state.
Well, naturally, #1 offense, #1 defense, right? Good luck. Beaver, fantastic year. Milford, got to give you credit. I mean, you got 3 straight years with double-digit wins, something never been done at Milford. heck of a year, heck of a career. Bryson, going to miss seeing you every Friday night or Saturday morning when we get the highlights. But it was the Beavers. And, they sent notice midway through the year with that win over Milford, and they held on. Congratulations to Beaver. Coach Marshall and his staff there, Riker Albrecht, phenomenal year for the Beavers.
Absolutely. Congratulations to our champions.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the other champions coming in this one. We started in 4A. We're going to go to 4A. One team going to get their first ever state championship in football. First appearance in the championship game for Skyview since 1987.
Wow.
The first championship appearance for Park City since 2001. Neither of them won it. One of them is bringing it home this time. This would be a very interesting game because of the multiplicity of guys on the field.
Yeah, and you're going to have a number of options on really both sidelines in terms of where you want to go. The defense, defense wins championships, and in 4A, the defense, whichever one shows up better is going to win this championship. I think it's going to be really interesting. Skyview, has some familiarity, but not a ton with that offense that Park City runs. Going to be interesting to see if Park City is able to get some of the same looks. I'll tell you this, we talked about Bauer and Skidmore and the options they have on offense. How about that offensive line? They were dominative in their win against Pineview. That Skyview front going to have to be strong and solid if they want to defeat Park City.
The other thing too is how they're going to use Mason Falslev. It's a sprinkling of him and then getting it right. It's going to be interesting. Case and Carlson's have to be able to throw the football early, but it's where they're going to start Falslev. Is it in the backfield? It is in the outside. They use him as a decoy to get going. That's what they did at the beginning of the game against Dixie. That's going to be key to me.
I think the balance for Skyview is going to be really important.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, now the 5A championship game. All right, the Norris division, if you will. These are two teams that are going to test each other's will.
Yeah.
You want to find out who wants to bank their head against the wall the most. We know Tiffy's to bring that. We talk about Noah Sewell, but I think there's another name in this offense for Orem you have to keep your eye on, and that's Virtual. That kid was huge in their semifinal game. He's going to have to be big, in my opinion, to settle things early for the Orem offense.
Yeah, that's a great call. These two teams played in region. Orem won that ball game 28-10, but this is a different Timpview team. This was still Elijah Allen throwing the ball 30 times. You're not going to see that this week. I love your call of Virtual. In that first matchup, only had 8 carries, had a rushing touchdown in that one. Take some of the strain and stress off of Noah Sewell in that offense. For Timpview, they're going to have to find a way to shut down that Orem rushing attack, and whether it's Sewell or it's Virtual or it's Tua Savura, got a number of backs, right? Whoever it is, got to find a way to shut that down, try to make Orem one-dimensional. Turnover is going to be big in this ball game. Elijah Allen threw 2 picks in that first matchup. I don't expect that we'll see that because he's not going to have to carry as much of a load. Whoever has the better offensive line, better running attack, and this one's going to have a heavy favorite. 2 offenses that I think are going to be structured very similarly in some cooler conditions this Friday night.
Be interesting if this game gets both teams in the 20s. That'll be an absolute upset. By the way, just a fun fact, 'cause I'm sure Coach Reynolds has watched this. Lance Sr., Virtual's kind of the Dustin Johnson of this Orem attack. Dustin Johnston was his days at BYU in the 96 team. All right, let's go 6A. How about a region matchup or rematch? Oh, the second one, because 5A is the Region 7 invitational. How about the Region 4 invitational for the second year in a row in 6A? Only 4 teams played in that championship game, all 4 of them from the same region.
Yeah.
Mercy. And no repeats. How about that? Corner Canyon owned AF in that first matchup. 21-0 in the first quarter that first time at AF. Is this game going to be any different? Or how can it be different?
Well, I think you start with it and you say, well, Austin Bell's not playing. 19 carries, 230 yards, and 3 touchdowns in that first matchup. All right, who's going to pick that up? Is it going to be Cole Hagan? Is it going to be one of the other backs? The other backs didn't get a lot of carries in that semifinal. It was Cole Hagan running the football. So, can you shut down Cole Hagan? I got bad news for you. Nobody else has. Doesn't mean you can't. But that rushing attack is certainly going to look different for Corner Canyon. To me, this game is going to really rely on the Corner Canyon defense. And when we talked about their performance against Lone Peak, that defensive front did a great job. Boy, they rotate guys out, and it feels like there's no drop-off at all. And you got Power 5 commits on that defensive line all over as well. The linebacking group has been solid. I think AF going to have to try to establish the run with Jackson Gregory. They've shown that in the second half of this year. If they can get Gregory going and keep that Corner Canyon offense on the sideline, Hagan did throw 2 picks this last week. It's the most interceptions he's thrown since week 1 against Orem. If they can find a way to get an extra turnover or 2, maybe they find a way to keep this close and keep that offense off the field. But let's be honest, it's going to take the best performance of the year for American Fork to try to win a state championship. They had the best performance of the year 52 weeks ago, and they lost. Can you find a way to get that group back and round it up against really the state's best team in Corner Canyon?
All right, so I misspoke. AF was there is a repeat, 3 teams out of Region 4. Either way, it's really impressive. All right, so let's do this. Go into quick hits. Brought to you by the Utah Army National Guard. Again, 150 jobs that you can get on-job training, on-site training for, up to $20,000 depending on the job that you choose. Or go get some college assistance. Go to Utah Army National. Go to nationalguard.com to go learn more. All right, let's go into picks real quick. 4A, who you got?
I'm going to stay with Park City. It's who I picked when the postseason started. Sticking with the Miners.
You know, I flipped to the Miners last week.
Yeah.
But I had my winner come from that bottom bracket. You chop off the head and Highlander, you take their power. I'll go Skyview in this one. Just so we're obviously different, but Skyview playing really, really well. I think we're going to be different in this one too. 5A.
Well, this one's tough. I had Orem when it started, and I remember seeing Timpview against Provo, and immediately I was like, that's a team that can win a state championship. My pick is still in it, so I'm going to go Timpview. I'm flipping.
I knew you would. And that, that's not bad either. Hey, I got a lot of guff about the top 5 plays. We had a technical issue, but I said, hey, I'm going to supply the bulletin board material for the team that I picked at the beginning of the tournament.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I'm doing. Hey, didn't put you in top 5 plays. I promise you, you're in it this week. You just take care of business, Timpview. Going for the 3-peat with the O. I'm taking that one. 6A.
I'm going to go with Corner Canyon in this one. I'm really impressed with the way they dealt with Lone Peak. We talked about AF, that game against East. They did not play a perfect ball game. They still played really well. They're going to have to play a perfect ball game. I don't know if that Corner Canyon defense lets them. I got the Chargers.
If I'm Coach Beam, I'm walking into that team and I'm showing them the 2016 championship game. Lone Peak shut out Harriman, embarrassed them on their field going to the state tournament. They got them in the championship game and beat them. Took them down. Wouldn't let them do their thing. That's what I'm sharing all week long, but it won't matter. I'm going Corner Canyon. I think this will be a different game than the first one, strictly because Bell isn't there. Be very interesting what happens. It's closer, but I got Corner Canyon getting back-to-back championships and Cole Hagen walking off undefeated. Well, who do you got in your picks? Let us know where you different on us. We'd love to hear from you at D News Rewind, at Dane_Stewart, or at Dusty Litster. We will see you at Rice Eccles Stadium. We've got all 3 of these games.
That's right.
On live.ksl and DeseretNews.com. For Vince and Dane, I'm Dusty. Thanks for joining us watching Deseret News Rewind on Deseret.com.